Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today it's super rainy here in Alberta, and I thought I would just take a moment to talk to you guys about relocating to Cochrane, Alberta, relocating to Alberta in general, and just talk about 5 steps in that process and some things that we can do or I can do as an agent to help make that process simpler for you. Now, the biggest hurdle to relocating anywhere is the cost of finding a property. If you want to go and see and check out numerous houses, there is some inherent cost to that. If you want to actually fly out and visit the area, obviously those flights are going to vary in cost. And then you run the risk of when you pick your dates and say, hey, this is when I'm going to come to Cochrane, Alberta and check this place out. There may not be any properties in your budget or properties that you are actually interested in available on the market at the time. Now, if you've been following along, Alberta is in a very low inventory situation, and Cochrane's no different than Calgary and other major centers in that there just is not a lot of listings available. So planning out a trip, a month, 2 months in advance to save on flight costs is taking a pretty big gamble on whether or not there's any properties available. So one of the biggest things that we can do to help you find that property is do virtual showings. Now, if you're saying to yourself that a virtual showing seems kind of weird, I would agree. It's very different than what we've normally done. However, for the past couple of years, that's become very normal. So a virtual showing, the way that would look is, I as the agent would show up, walk myself through the home, get familiar with the home. I'm going to get you on a FaceTime call. And we would just treat that much like we would a regular showing. We would walk through the home. You could ask questions. If you want to see another room again, we'd go back. And all I would do is that I would always give myself a longer showing window than say if it was just us in person. And I like to get off and then spend the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of our showing window. And I do a final walkthrough, record that myself, and then I can upload it to a private YouTube video and send that to you. That way, if we see a couple different homes in that one day, you're able to jump back in, watch those videos from the showing on a private just for you YouTube channel. And that way you can slow things down, screenshot, zoom in, and then do a final comparison of any of those homes that we saw throughout the day later on. Now, if you still are unsure and you're like, well, I don't know if I can move somewhere without traveling there, the other alternative is that, coupled with the virtual showings, is that you do make a trip out to Cochrane, Alberta, but instead of looking at specific homes, we're looking at communities. So we'll go and we'll check out all the different communities in Cochrane, get a feel for which communities best fit you. And then once you return home, as properties come up in those specific communities, those are the ones we focus on the virtual tours. And that way you're already at least familiar with how the homes look from the outside. You're familiar with how the community looks and feels. And now you're just looking at the listing in a more virtual manner. Okay, so that gets you through how to view and find a property. Next up is financing. Now, traditionally, you're going to use a mortgage broker, or I would recommend that you do use a mortgage broker over a traditional bank. They just tend to be easier to deal with, and they are more apt to work for you and kind of fight for that better rate. Now, even though you are out of province, you can actually utilize the services of a mortgage broker here in Alberta, one that is familiar with Cochrane and Calgary in that market. And because mortgage brokers work with a variety of national-based lenders, you're going to get a similar service and similar rates whether you use a mortgage broker here or in your hometown. So whichever makes you feel more comfortable. Obviously, dealing with a mortgage broker here, you're going to be doing things all virtually versus meeting with them in person where you are currently trying to relocate from. Now, the next spot is once you've found a home and you're like, yep, this is the one, we're going to put in an offer. Again, just like everything else here, offers and everything can be done remotely. We use e-sign documents and it's super quick and easy. We can get on a video call, walk through the contract, make sure everything is done to your standards and my standards. And then when we send that off for signing, all you have to do is review, sign it, and then I communicate that offer to the other agent. Now, once we have an accepted offer, there is a few things that come up. You have inspections is the big one. Again, that is not something that you're likely going to spend, $1,000 in travel costs to come out to go through the inspection. As an agent, I'm actually required to be there during an inspection, whether you are present or not. And so again, what we would look to do is I would be there for the inspection, have the inspectors do their walkthrough, and then in the final period of their inspection, when they would usually give you a overview or a walkthrough of any issues they may have found, again, I will jump on and get you on a FaceTime call and then actually have the inspector give you that walkthrough virtually. So you still get that interaction with the inspector to ask any questions about the home, but you do not have to spend the thousands of dollars to travel to do so. Again, if it's something that you're interested in, that's huge. I know all the inspection companies that I use send over quite the large PDF document with pictures and instructions and a big detailed report. So couple that report with the FaceTime call and go over those findings with the inspector, him or herself, I think is a really great asset for a out-of-town buyer looking to relocate to Cochrane, Alberta. Now, the final big hurdle in purchasing a property remotely would be signing of all the mortgage documents and signing of all the legal documents. Now, I do recommend to use a law office that is based in Alberta, as they are familiar with our land titles system and our land transfer system here in Alberta. So that is a huge recommendation of mine, is to use a law office that is familiar with our systems. Now, with that being said, you can sign your documents remotely. The only thing that is required is that you will be sent the document package and you will have to meet with a notary public in your respective province in order to sign those documents. And the reason for that is they need to properly verify your ID when you sign those documents and have you sign in person in front of that notary public. Those documents can then be couriered, and they must be couriered because we do need, for Alberta, the original copies to be submitted to land titles. So the one big thing that you and I will do when we are setting up a offer to purchase with a remote purchase is that you're always going to include a couple extra days for your possession day in order to give yourself enough time to get those documents sent over. And then working with that lawyer as quickly as possible and getting those documents sent over as quickly as possible is very important, just to try and avoid any shipping delays and give ourselves a buffer window so that we can close on time. Now comes the fun part. You're a remote buyer, you're potentially moving here and relocating here, and you have to ship all of your stuff, you have to move, you have to ship a car, you're flying with flights, and possession day might not align with the date that all of your stuff is going to arrive, and it may not align with the day that you were able to find flights. So in this situation, I would then facilitate a pre-possession walkthrough where I would go through and make sure I walk through the house, make sure nothing's changed. I would then take possession of the keys and take possession of the home. And that way, when you do arrive, I will come in and meet you at the home, and it would just be a delayed possession for you. Now, prior to taking possession, there is a few things that you will have to arrange and have set in place. And those things typically are your property taxes, your home insurance. Now, those two are needed for the actual transfer and sale. And then after that, you'll need to have your utilities set up, if you want home internet set up, if you want cable set up. And then you'll also have to set up your water, sewer, and recycling with the town. Now, those things can all, again, be done either online or over the phone. So one more thing that you do not actually have to travel here to do. One other thing that's super common for people to want to do when taking possession of a new home is paint or do some minor cosmetic upgrades. Now, being that you are not potentially going to be there on possession day, and maybe you're planning on moving a week later, with some proper planning, this is a great time to have those simple, quick updates completed so that it doesn't disrupt your day-to-day life. Now, what I've done in the past is when I take possession, I always put my own lockbox on the property, and then I can set up contractor codes to allow painters, flooring, interior designers, whatever service you're looking to have done, I can arrange access for them so that those services and upgrades can be completed before you even move here. And that way, when you do arrive, you're not worrying about painting, you're not living in the construction, and those improvements are completed, ready for you to just move in and enjoy your new home. Now, I lay out all of this information in greater detail in a buyer's guide that I provide to any of the out-of-town clients or buyer clients that I currently work with. So if you are interested in receiving this buyer's guide, I encourage you to reach out, get a hold of me. My contact information is in the description of the video below. Shoot me a quick email or send me a text and just say, hey, I'd love to see that buyer's guide, and I'll get that over to you right away. And let's make the process of you relocating to Cochrane, Alberta as simple and smooth as possible, and make sure you're prepared for every step along the way. And once again, if you like the content in this video, I really encourage you to hit that subscribe button. I try and get out a new video every week. Weather permitting, I'm out doing a community tour, and if it's a little bit, hazy outside, I'm going to do some of these more information-based how-to videos and just giving you as much information as I possibly can to help make you choosing Cochrane, Alberta the easiest decision you can make. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.